under the auspices of Alliance for New Nigeria Candidates. He is Ferdinand Adimefe. He's a wonderful gentleman who's had different aspirations over the years, started his course until this point, and he's here to speak with us. Hi, Ferdinand.
Hi, well, good morning, Valentine.
Hello. I was saying hello, Valentine. Hello, Ferdinand. Good
Good to see you
morning.
guys. Yeah,
How are you?
fine, very well.
You feeling good this morning?
Very well.
I understand the traffic is mad.
Yes, so much traffic. I had to do what I haven't done in a while.
What did you do?
Go down of the car. I took a bike.
Very well done.
So, a House of Reps candidate can take a bike.
You have to feel what the people feel for you to work for them.
Excellent. And of course, anything to get the work done. And that's what we're hoping that all our reps will do. You know, all those who are representing us in elections with regards to whatever it takes to get the job done, even if it means inconveniencing yourself or sacrificing.
That's the way it should be, I believe.
All right, so interesting. I said that for on purpose, right? So I need to understand Ferdinand. We need to understand, but first of all, Lagos. Ferdinand is here to speak with you because Lagos Talks 981 is a conversation with you primarily, and the mode of conversation here is through our phone line. The number is 0144899981. Call us live in the studio so you can ask him questions regarding his aspirations for Federal House of Representatives representing Eti-Osa local government area in Lagos. He's
Eti-Osa Constituency.
Eti-Osa Constituency.
Constituency.
All right, so Federal Constituency, just putting it very clearly there. Thank you very much for clarifying that. Lagos 0144899981 is the number to call for messages. You said
If you prefer, you can send a WhatsApp message to us on 0809-444-0981. And on Twitter, we'll be taking your comments. Just use the hashtag Lagos Talks 981 so we can easily reach, get your messages. It's a no holds barred conversation, whatever question you want to ask, broadly, widely, but as much as possible in line with his area of expertise.
All right, so Ferdinand Adimefe, you are under the Alliance for New Nigeria Party.
Yes.
I'd like to know why that party. Was
Okay,
it
so,
the most convenient or the most the only one available for you to run?
I think for me it was first about looking for a party that you can resonate with in terms of ideology or the values. So when it came to me that I wanted to be in this election, I wanted to participate, I looked for and I couldn't find. But ANN appealed to me because ANN is one party that was, they were very deliberate about creating a party that would not have strongholds and godfather. So in ANN we say our godfather is actually the Nigerian people and the constitution. So, but there are many things that comes with this. One, a godfather has a deep pocket, so he can be funded. And this is not the case in ANN. We have about 300 candidates running across the country. And every one of us is actually self-funded and supported by friends and family. So in an election that is highly monetized, where people are asking for money as you go along the way, it's important that you speak to the heart of the people about the issue we're facing. But more than just choosing ANN is even why am I running? And I think somehow Nigerians get very fixated on the presidency. But the presidency and the executive arm of government is not all there is. In fact, more importantly, your legislative arm is even more important because if you fail, I feel we have legislative bottlenecks. So for every problem we have in Nigeria, if you look at it, there's a legislative root to it.
Yes.
And if you're not thinking from that legislative point of view, you'll fail. So even if you have a president with a compelling vision, and you have a National Assembly that is not aligned in that area of vision and values, you're dead on arrival. The struggle will continue, the tension will remain. So I think what we need, Nigerians, and I tell this to my friends, armchair criticism is not enough. We can talk about the problems. Every election we analyze, Nigeria is dead, how did it die, the election was rigged. No, that's not where we solve the problems. If you believe anything about the faith we represent and the call that we have for our country, we need to step outside and do what we need to do. Leave your comfort zone, get into the ring, and see where you go from there. So if we have a sizable representation of people who are concerned about service, not career politicians, and I think that's where we get it wrong. Your claim to fame is not because you've always been running. Your claim to fame because you have a track record of things you've built, no matter how small they are, but we see capacity through that. And we're able to say, if we scale with this, you can come into government and represent why you want to run. So I'm actually running on the plank of 7 policies which I've actually put out on our website.
Right.
And
Go to the policies. Sorry.
Okay.
As you're vying for the role of the federal as a representative in the Federal House of Representatives, and one of the things that has come out, one of the good things that have come out in this present House is the passing of the Not Too Young to Run bill. Now, we asked you a question as to why you wanted to run, why it was important. But would you say that bill has urged young men like you and others who are in this election to go ahead and do this? And what kind of policies would you push in the House if you're elected to support young people in Eti-Osa?
Okay, so I definitely would not be running if the not too young to run wasn't put in place. So it opened the way for us to get into the race. But more importantly, our being in this race is not because we're young. I think it's because we have the capacity. We want new ideas for our country. We live in a digital world. Pretty much everything we're doing is you have to look to technology to solve it. And our policies are really moribund. Like most of what we hold up in terms of the bills are outdated. So there is a need that we need to upscale. And I think that's where young people have a role to play. Now, what do I want to do when I get into support young people? So at the constituency level, what we are doing, we're setting up like a skill acquisition center. And the plan is 70% of the revenue that is accrued to your constituency project is dedicated to creating jobs and equipping people. So we want to hit the ground running by creating at least 500 SMEs and startups in the every month, at least 500 people in different skill sets. Whether you're interested in makeup, now think about it. Nigeria is a creative hub. Like every young person you meet, if they're not interested in makeup, they're interested in music, but there are no structures to empower these guys to monetize their creativity and make it enduring. So I'm very big on the creative economy. I think if we get our creative economy right, we can reduce significantly the unemployment rate.
All right.
So that's what I think.
Okay, so let me take you back. I mean, you mentioned that it was just on the advent of the Not Too Young to Run bill that you threw in your desire to campaign. I mean, this is the first political aspiration you've ever had?
This is the first I've been involved in more advocacy than politics. So
okay.
I've been involved in EIE, been involved in all these other movements. But one thing, this is the first time I'm running as a candidate.
Yes.
And it's been very encouraging, challenging, and rewarding all at once. And for me, it has been more an education than anything. I see what the challenges are in just being on the field. First of all, you meet people that are interested in money, and you meet people who are interested in a vision.
Who outweighs the other?
Of course, the money guys. and then, but then again, you just have to find a way to relate with them. So I think that, first of all, when we gather, we try to think about social impact projects. So when we go to communities, we either go with a doctor to give them, most of them are not interested in social impact, glasses and all these things, but at the end of the day, you do what you can. And by the second and the third journey, they're building trust. Trust is not built once you just knock on their door, because there's a baggage of mistrust. And again, when they say politics, they just feel everyone who is in this place is corrupt. And I think we need to understand that politics in and of itself is not bad.
Yeah.
It's the way people play it that really brings out the
real self, right?
Yeah,
Their real personalities. Thank you very much, Ferdinand Adimefe. He's for the Alliance for New Nigeria. He's their candidate for Federal House of Representatives, representing the Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. He's here to speak to us and answer questions that you may have. Please send your questions to 014489981. If you call that number, we'll pick up right here in the studio, because the show is about you. 014489981 or WhatsApp. You can send a message.
WhatsApp number 0809-444-0981.
Let's take this short break. We'll be back with it right here. Smooth 98.1.
Love music.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I've known you for almost over 10 years or 15 years.
So when I saw your picture on the poster, I don't understand. Ferdinand?
I'm in Nigeria.
That's good.
Even before you discover being a mom,
I actually used to be on the
Yeah, that's what
I heard.
It's that was the hardest.
now keep discovering
Always
the
used to
Morphix
not get
newborn
along.
diaper.
Oh, really?
It's satin breathable
You
surface.
were here this
Well,
morning.
just like the way I like to think,
Ultra absorbing
if you see
structure.
things this way, I always like to be in perspective.
Yeah.
So most times they're not always my view, but I need balance in the show. And if both of us go, but he has tremendous knowledge of history.
Yes.
Yeah, and very much a lot of data,
Yes.
even unnecessary ones.
Yes.
I like that. I don't get into trouble. I want to keep my head intact.
Yeah. You can feel downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm even hoping to see it because we're going for a debate on the 4th
Okay.
of Federal House of Rep candidate,
Yeah.
about 5 of us. So,
Where's it going to happen?
the BBC is actually hosting.
Oh,
So it's going
fantastic.
to be at 6 center.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Who's organized BBC?
Yeah, BBC.
What day is it?
On Tuesday, the 4th. part of.
Oh, I'd like to go. What time is it?
You know,
I'll have to check.
okay, I have to confirm the time.
Okay. I'd like to, if it's, I hope it's not an evening program. I'd like to. And I haven't been able to go for any debates yet. Just watched it. Even the watching, I've always been, well, I like to watch the one that happened at government and politics.
Okay. That was more a panel conversation.
Okay,
though.
not
Not a
so this
debate.
is your first proper
This is
debate
the
with
first
the other
proper
candidates.
debate.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Will you be televised?
It will be streamed. Yes.
Streamed, okay. On the BBC website?
Yes, on several platforms. I think Pulse is on as well.
Okay.
I think this day.
Yeah, well, even if I'm able to attend, either I watch it live or I watch it. So what has been the most difficult aspect of
Funding has been in terms of reason.
Sorry?
Funding has been.
Yeah.
Your posters don't last the night sometimes. People cover them, and you're not sure. You don't print justice. You don't print any bread. You don't print any posters. Funding is what, and then the limitations of a new party. Nigerians are not very hopeful. They are hopeful, but not. I don't know. They tell you guys, am I not wasting my vote? I like your candidate. I like you guys, fella. But you guys, Nigeria is more complex than a good man and a good speech. Like, so they don't even believe in a third force or a third alternative. They feel the best person to dislodge is Atiku, and let's just settle there first. But and interestingly, a lot of people are not very aware about the Federal House of Representatives. They don't know what you're meant to do.
Yes.
And most of them have never voted there. And some of them are in their 40s. So imagine being through 4 circles and never voting.
True.
And then the challenge again.
Go back.
I'm
Sorry.
running. Okay.
4 seconds. Studio. Lagos, you're tuned in and listening to Smooth 98.1, and this is Smooth Breakfast with Ayo.
And Valentine.
And this is a Lagos Talks special, Lagos Talks 981. We have a special guest in the studio, Mr. Ferdinand Adimefe. He's the Alliance for New Nigeria. He's a candidate for Federal House of Representatives representing Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. He's been talking to us about his ambition and his plans really for the constituency. And Ferdinand, you've spoken really well. And I've known you over the years for being the guy who has a good command for communication, and you know how to communicate your ideas to people and get people to understand where you're coming from. But communicating that and having a very good grasp of ideas and how to translate that in words, is that enough in politics? Because a lot of people would say, "Oh, who idea help?" Do you understand? How does ideas put food on my table? And like you mentioned earlier, that when you had this interaction with community leaders and people on that basic level, that they expected more. They not necessarily were receptive to the methods or your method of campaigning, really, that you said. But how do you bridge that gap? How do you get to convince them beyond every reasonable doubt that they should support you?
No, true. I think the interesting part, legislation is about ideas. It's really about ideas. So if you're talking about executive arm, you're also thinking about, it is a different conversation. So what is a bill? A bill is actually just little alteration to the constitution to make it more functional for everyone. So for instance, if we look at our educational structure, we have a problem where 13 million kids are out of school. And if you add 20 years to their lives, you have about 13 million adults with not in education and employment because they're not educated. And that's crisis. Now, there's another damning stat that we found out. 80% of those currently in school are likely to drop out by the time they get to university. So you already have like a major one. And why are they doing that? Because sometimes the style of education, the content of it may not necessarily inspire or keep them in school. And then those who end up graduating oftentimes are even unemployable. So what we find is at every point in time there are issues. And because we have an unhealthy fixation on tertiary education, not early education. So I've been advocating, let's reverse the order. Let's put more emphasis on early and secondary education so people are more self-sufficient when they graduate. So that's what education is about. Even if you stop at primary 6, you should be able to hold a pen, write and think critically. So there's a sense that we must not just teach people what to think, but how to think. And education is about empowering you to be more entrepreneurial in your approach to life, to be more creative and solving problems, not necessarily. We have a complaint orientation to society. We need to help people solve, and it comes with education. So for me, I think again, the legislative side of how the budget is allocated is also critical. The Educational Trust Fund, again, is more about the tertiary education, and the primary is not working. let's look at our teachers training colleges.
Mm.
The process of replicating these teachers. I mean, what is the process? Most times people see teaching as just another option because you don't have a job. But teaching should be something about passion. You should also be good at what you do. So it's important that we have to review the welfare and the package for our teachers to make it more attractive. Currently, about 7.3% is allocated to education. That is grossly insufficient for a country with about 70% less than 35.
All right, thank you, Ferdinand. We have to go to the phone lines right now. Remember, you can call us on 014489981. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What is your name, please? Hey,
Hello,
Devo.
Hi,
Devo. How are
Good
you?
morning.
Welcome.
Devo, good morning. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you. For the Federal House of Representatives. Mm.
All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Devo.
All right, what we've noticed is that in Eti-Osa is a unique environment because you have a healthy collection of educated and uneducated people, and it's almost an equal split. So what we have observed is that the uneducated people are always very effective and they show up at the voting polls. Those units are but in areas like Lekki, Victoria Island, Ikoyi, there is always apathy. So what we've done is in ANN, and it's not just speaking of me now, our engagement at the grassroots level has been actively door to door and more connecting on individuals, speaking to our friends. I'm talking to as many people as possible and just getting them to come out on that day, because if they come out, there's a game changer. The current guy that is sitting in this position won with less than 10% of the total vote. In 2015, there was about 297,000 people in Eti-Osa, but only about 27,000 voted for him. So somewhere around, moving around 10 to 12%. Now, what about if we can mobilize just 20% of the people? All right, so at the grassroots level, we're making efforts. We found a significant response from the young people. But again, many people, there's a limitation of a new party. Most people feel that young parties is still a far reach. But I tell them that Eti-Osa is still possible because you can't buy votes here. So that's part of the assurance we have, that it's not the place where you can bring 5,000 and give them in Lekki phase 1 and get their votes. These people, most of them are well off and they want to see change. And we are counting on that, and we're speaking into their hearts and saying, you know what, let's try and come out and stand long enough to vote. Because apathy is the problem for most of the elites, not necessarily. So in 2015, we saw that about 97 million Nigerians were eligible to vote. But by the time you check the number of people registered for PVC, it was just about 65 million. Now only 47 point something million collected those PVCs. And on the voting day, only 28 million people voted. So there is about a 60 million missing along the run. So what about if we get those 60 million? So the concept of structure is somehow hyperbole. It's very exaggerated, because if the structures of APC and PDP can only mobilize just about 15% of the total voting population, we're talking about 85% of the Nigerian population who are not coming out because they don't have something encouraging.
It's interesting that you mentioned those two major parties. So one might ask, at this point, you've noted that some of those parties have a lot of influence over ANN and some other parties that seem new to everybody else. So how do you break that? That it seemed like a jinx on the other parties for not being able to show their head above water, seeing that there are a lot of notable personalities that you're running against.
Like I said, it's unique because Eti-Osa in and of itself has never played allegiance to APC or PDP. It's very, very diverse. It can go anyway. So, but again, looking at the candidates from both the APC and the PDP, these are guys who are coming into the game with pretty much just a track record of having run or having a name without much legacy to show for it. Sorry, but the intention is we need to speak truth and understand that this is not just another election.
All right. Okay, let's go back to the phone lines, Freddie. We still have Ferdinand Adimefe, candidate under the Alliance for a New Nigeria for the Federal House of Representatives, Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. Before we go to the phone lines, we also have some comments on WhatsApp. Rufus from Edgware Road says, God bless you, Mr. Ferdinand. You said you had to get down from a vehicle and take a bike because of traffic. We all know that power and authority corrupts. When you now become a rep member, your convoy of cars with sirens will automatically clear the road. Do you consider that as a promotion, or you see the situation as necessity being the mother of invention?
That is a question.
All right, so I don't see myself changing anytime. I don't see so, and here is why. On a level, I think I find this decoration. Okay, I don't know if this is a good platform to bring about a pastor, and in my church there are no protocols. I don't want young people carry my Bible around. Please sit down and let's have service. There is no need for that. Those things are just waste of human time and potential. Let us sit down. So I have this anti-establishment, anti-institutional approach to things that is not even working for anyone. And I think our politics is bloated. They are overpaid. I don't even think that our legislatures should have a full-time. They should be full-time. I think have a functional practice. Come and make bills and go back.
That's a big statement. So would you be willing to push a bill in the House to promote what you've just said with regards to making legislators go part-time as opposed to being full-time as it's done in other parts of the world?
I know I will push, but again, in reality, you don't, one person in it cannot just, because it's benefiting everyone. But what I know is that constituency allowance, we will demonstrate and make Eti-Osa a model constituency. So that constituency allowance has to come here. And every month, people will see the projects we're doing. I don't need this. I have a job and a functional work. So but I want to serve.
Because I think working.
I will continue working. And I'll get off as many cars to get on the bike as possible, because that's how you connect.
Okay, we have a lot. Please keep your calls coming in. Yes, we have another call coming in. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
What is your name, please?
Hello, Emmanuel.
Where are you calling from this morning? Please go ahead. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello. Oh, Emmanuel, please call us back. We're still here till about 10 minutes to the hour 10. So if you can call back. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Where's Femi calling from this morning? All right, Femi, go ahead.
Oh, Femi, good morning.
All right. All right.
Thank you, Femi. So thanks for the vote of confidence, but go ahead to ask your question. Oh, there's no question in there?
I don't think Femi had a question. Let's see if we have other people who have questions.
Yes, we'll do have to take a break. We'll be back to those calls and your messages on 0809-444-0981 for the WhatsApp messages. For calls, it's call 0144899981. Our special guest today for Lagos Talk Special here on Smooth 98.1. His name is Ferdinand Adimefe. He's of the Alliance for New Nigeria Party. He's a candidate for Federal House of Representatives seeking to be elected for Eti-Osa Federal Constituency here in Lagos. Lagos, send us your messages and your thoughts. We'll be back after this.
Well done.
Well done.
I should take more calls.
Well done.
Yeah, there's so many calls.
Yeah. And it's actually good to hear from people directly so that you know what is burning on the heart of people the most.
Somebody said, what are your social media handles? We'll follow you right away. Cheers to you. Wish you all the best. That's Damola.
It's Ferdinand, my friend.
Yeah, he'll say it himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then this. Senior. We really need sound-minded people in every political office, like Honorable Ferdinand. My question is, what do you do differently from the regular guys in the house when you get to office? Because I see
You
you.
just answered to that question. From,
Like the present guy, I tried reaching him 2 years ago. I just wanted to push a deal. and there was no idea. I didn't know I was going to run ever. The guy didn't have a handle. He didn't have a website.
When we ask the question
Yeah.
about social media, because
He didn't
one
have
of the
it.
big questions about representatives is that you're meant to represent the people.
Yes.
So how can you represent the people that you don't have a connection with?
Mm.
You know, how can you if you're representing me and you don't know, maybe you're representing me at a restaurant and you don't know what I want to eat. So what are you going? How are you going to order what I like?
There's a zero federal presence in Eti-Osa. Zero
Yes.
federal presence. You don't have national libraries. You don't have a general hospital. Everything you have to go to Marina to be able to serve. And even our primary healthcare centers, they are very neglected. And in a sense, because Eti-Osa grew in the last 20 years, and it was more primed by private influx. You know, it wasn't that there was a deliberate attempt by the government to ensure that those presence are felt. You know, so and there's a lot of work to do advocating for the presence, for the establishment of these things, a functional library for people here. And I even think that if you have a community of about 4 million people, like they say we are, or even 5, and there is no facility for sports where the young people who are inclined to sports and athletics can study and practice. So if you're not in school, even schools don't have fields. So we're losing an essential part of what can become an economy for a lot of young people who have nothing but talent in sports. So we must steward their dreams effectively, create options for young people to dream. Let me not answer all this one. Can you remember it when we
Yeah, I was
start?
going to say that. Another thing I would say to you with regards to, so are we on? Yeah.
You
Sorry.
can go up.
No, let me. I'm not. I'm just saying that usually when we ask questions, don't wait till we ask the particular one you want to
You're
say.
keeping your answers somewhere.
Yes, make sure, because what you're saying we might not ask you directly, but you can bring it as part of your, use it to answer, because it's really important. I'm saying this not because I'm so, but it's just because if you have so much to say, don't wait till we ask a direct question. Just if someone asks, because we're probably not going to ask many more questions from now. But when the phone calls come,
As much as possible, answer.
so like that person that was saying,
just cover as much ground.
as much ground. I was asking about your, don't just say social media, and talk about your experience of your social media experience with someone.
Because the primary reason for this is just to get people to be used to.
Yeah. And even educate, and funny enough, in the process of educating people about what you do, it actually engenders people to you as well. Because,
Studio, mics are up. It's 9:30 here on the clock on Smooth 98.1. You're listening to Lagos Talks special here on Smooth 98.1, and our special guest is Ferdinand Adimefe. He's on the platform of Alliance for New Nigeria. He's their candidate running for the Federal House of Representatives, representing Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. We have calls coming into this number 0144899981.
our first caller for this half. Hello, good morning. Good morning. What's your name, please? And you're calling from where? Lekki. All right, Lekon, please go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, yes. Yes. Good morning. But easily.
All right, Lekon. All right.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
What are we doing? This,
let's just clear that. Let's clear that, Lekon. We're not doing anything to promote anyone's campaign. We're non-partisan.
yes.
The only thing we can do for you as our wonderful listeners is to bring your representatives, your candidates, for them to talk about topical issues, particularly with regards to you, and to give you the opportunity on Lagos Talks 981 to ask them questions, to air your views, give your comments, and to give that bridge between you and your candidates. Okay?
Does that answer your question? Hmm. All right. Yes, because it's a neutral playing field. All right.
Yes, it is.
Yes. We're obligated to give audience to everyone.
And we're glad that you're actually paying attention.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Kemi Olowo sent in this message on WhatsApp, says, I have no questions yet. I just want to say it is refreshing to see someone like Ferdinand run. I remember we had a youth program about 9 years ago, and we invited him to come speak to the young people. He came all the way to Ejibo area of Lagos, very far from his comfort zone. We did not have any money to pay him, but he spoke about blogging. Memories coming back now. Okay, showing the participants how they could empower themselves financially through this skill. Today, a lot of young people, spurred by Ferdinand's presentation, have enjoyed working and getting paid for their communication skills just because he cared enough to show the way. You see what they talk about track record. Now, based on your experience so far, you've been living in Eti-Osa for how long? You've been familiar with their terrain for how long?
About 12 years.
12 years. Since then, what notable problems have you noticed that you've been battling with that hasn't been solved to date?
Well, I think the problems are the same thing. We're still talking about light. So I live in an estate where light is very expensive, about 63 per kilowatt, per kilowatt. So it's very expensive. And we're still dealing with issues of flooding in most parts of Eti-Osa. The toll is something that is very debatable, and people are saying, what do we do about the tolling without a proper set-aside alternative route that could have reduced the weight on the people. So there's still unemployment. It's relatively high, even in the midst of the development that is happening here. You still have absence of federal presence in Eti-Osa. So you have no libraries, no national libraries, and if you're big on education, you need that.
Yes.
You have no general hospital in Eti-Osa. And even the primary healthcare centers that we see that's even run by the federal government, they're very scanty, and most of them are ill-equipped. So we're dealing with all of these many issues as well.
I like that you mentioned that the absence of federal hospitals available in Eti-Osa, because it seems to have been overtaken by private establishments, taking the course. And you see that most of the development that we can see and touch and feel in Eti-Osa are largely private investments.
Yes.
How about the local issue of I don't know if this is within your remit, but I guess it definitely should be touts, community issues, because not just obviously it's important to talk about infrastructure, but also things that plague the local residents, touts, omoniles, housing matters. How do you hope to address this?
I think it's mediating with these guys. Honestly, I've met a lot of them on the field. And like I was going to answer to Leko's question, that how do you solve these issues of people that are going to be bought? And I think we've done a lot to reach out to them. And to the best of my knowledge, a lot of them have actually supported and are pledging to support. And I hope it stays that way until February 16th.
I'm not just by word of mouth.
Yeah, but again, there is still that side of the conversation. We can't always win on one front, because I know that a lot of them are still vulnerable. They have health issues and feeding issues, and these people are vulnerable to the political class, and they'll bring money. So we want to also reach out to our friends who are not easily bought. Come out.
All right, thank you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for doing the right thing. What is your name? Okay. What's your name, please? Did you say Dr. Osai? Dr. Sai.
Good morning, Dr. Sai. Hi, Ferdinand. How are you? I'm very fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations to the person for trying to run this thing. Thank you. The process is some of the something that was resolution. Thank you for the sacrifices
Thank you.
Right. So, Ferdinand, that's a few things. You know the show is about everybody sounds very nice, very large, very popular, because it's the house, very good, really good. When we get there, I Yes.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
Mm.
Mm. All right.
Mm.
Mm. All right.
Mm. Okay.
All right.
Dr. Sai, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sai. Always
Alright.
refreshing to hear a female voice on the phone lines.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll quickly answer this. First of all, how do I plan to stay grounded? I think on many levels. One, I have been able to understand the level of spirituality, not religion now. Just understanding that there's a spiritual essence to life to which you have to find meaning. So my meaning is not exactly tied to anything I can accomplish, but in my spirituality and my source. Second thing is I have close friends and families that I've kept so long. They speak truth all the time, and I think they have been part of my journey. And I don't intend changing them anytime soon. The third thing is we have a group
Well,
called.
so let me take you up on that before you continue to the next story, a question really to address it. You talk about your close family and friends around you, but are they well equipped with the knowledge that's required for your position that you're vying for?
I think that yes and no.
Okay.
And I think that they don't necessarily have to be equipped because their being there for me is not about to help me become technical at the work. There is impact. There is the team that we set up called the impact team.
Okay.
So it's an NGO we registered. Win or not, that NGO is going to be around for a long time. And we want to dedicate to solving problems. So that impact is made up of people both in ANN and outside ANN. In fact, I have more people outside ANN in the impact group. Some of them are even card carrying members of other parties, but they believe in what we represent and engineering this change. So they're all part of it. And so I intend to, we have the impact group. So I think we'll share the handle, we'll post that so you can also follow, check the website. We don't have a handle for that, but we have a website. And also my close friends, and ANN is also of people of like mind. So I have a lot of people that we believe the same thing. Our values and our vision is also very connected.
All right, thank you very much. I'll take you up on the other part of the question, which speaks to the disparity in federal representatives, your position, and the local government, and how you guys synergize in actualizing policies and implementing plans. But that will come after the break. I would like you to hold that thought. You're listening to Lagos Talk Specialist here on Smooth 98.1. Our special guest is Ferdinand Adimefe. He's of the Alliance for New Nigeria. He's the candidate for Federal House of Representatives representing Eti-Osa Federal Constituency. Stay with us. Oh boy. So when we come back, we'll go straight to that.
Okay.
Answering that.
Look out the interface.
Okay.
Tying to the last part of the question.
Okay.
So
how you work together.
How do you know exactly? How do you draw the line from? Okay, you don't necessarily draw the line, but how do you identify that this is a federal House of Representatives task or responsibility? How do you know what they've done, what they haven't done?
The thing is that constituency project is illegal, but our senators have made it a thing, and there is a purpose for it. So I think our local government they still have limited funding and they still have limited capacity. So even we need more, not less. But there are areas of collaboration and that has to be encouraged where you can overlap on areas like in terms of education. We need to work with the local government because it's shared functions. So the education, particularly the primary education, you need to work to make it work together. But when you make policies at the local, at the national level, you're making for Nigeria. So even while you have a base, your policies should reflect it wide enough to cover the country and not, and their diversity. So the peculiarities across the country is also something you have to be sensitive about when you make your policy.
So in that sense, they allowed to the Federal House of House of Reps members, are they allowed to be biased or hold that thought? Just think about it and draw back.
Welcome back. This is still Lagos Talks 981 here on Smooth FM. Valentine and
Ayo.
leading the conversation or moderating the conversation this morning with you at the center, giving us your thoughts and also sharing your opinions. This morning it is special, and we have the ANN candidate for the Federal House of Representatives, Eti-Osa Constituency, in the person of Ferdinand Adimefe. We've been having a conversation and also having you ask questions as well. The last one was on Dr. Sai, which Ferdinand will be answering right now, and that is the
Synergy.
working together, synergy between federal and local government, and how you don't clash, instead working together for the people.
Okay, so very quickly, there is a lot of collaboration that I will be pushing when we come into office, and that collaboration is also going to center around areas of education, where you have shared function between the local government and the federal government. More importantly as well, for constituency projects, there are some that we may take very particularly. One, because at the legislative level, I am concerned about the people of Eti-Osa. So for instance, Eti-Osa is a creative colony. You have the entertainment hub here sitting with us. And nobody's pushing intellectual property, nobody's thinking of how to fight piracy in a way that is enduring. So for me, one of my personal projects is how do we unlock the wealth in the creative economy? Because it will benefit my people more. Eti-Osa can attract foreign direct investment. So how do I shape that conversation? But I will shape the intellectual property in such a way that it will benefit everyone in the country. But I know that because of the unique positioning of people in Eti-Osa, it is the direct benefit that will come to us. So Lagos should be competing with cities like Hong Kong, London, Paris, because global cities, not Kano, not Port Harcourt. I mean, we have enough to stand alone. There should be a special status if we can. But in a sense, Eti-Osa in itself should be like a colony that can attract foreign direct investment to the entertainment sector, creative sector, to health, SME. We have a huge startup economy here. And how do we empower the technology people with policies so that they are protected from infiltration from foreign brands that will undermine their performance? And then you have capital flights with all these monies going to their countries. We have work to do, guys.
So one of the issues a lot of people have, the electorate have, is identifying the candidates and their functions in their communities. Because we see in many cases when you ask a man who's probably just going about his daily activities, who's your representative at the Federal House of Representatives? So which one we got again? You know? And then it's even more appalling that the average man cannot identify their local government chairman. So how do you now essentially identify, okay, these are the roles of these particular individuals? Not to talk of just identify the individuals themselves, but how do you know what role you have played in the development of your community or your constituents?
So for me, I think that for the impact, our roadmap involves data capturing. So we want to be able to, in every community, profile the people there. Eti-Osa is very diverse. Capture that data and understand how many of them, what's the level of education, do they have any skill set, and how do we help them to get back into employment? Or how do we structure that? So that is something we will do first of all. We get the data, understand the problems of the people. I have a measure of it, but I think it can be more extensive when we get into that point. And again, one of the things I'm also hoping we'll be able to do is really having our town hall meetings regularly, literally every month across town. I mean, even as an individual, we used to do something called Conversations for Change interface, and these are meetings for exchange of ideas.
How far-reaching is that in terms of effect? How do people feel your influence from that federal level? So because people think that once they are elected, they move to Abuja and that's it. That's the end.
No, I think because we've never had a demonstration before, and so it's going to be new. But our people will be educated into understanding that I am the demand from their representative because their representative is there to serve. So for me, I will want the previous guy that was there. I tried reaching him, the guy that's there now. I tried reaching him several times. There was no luck. No Twitter handle, no website, no functional website, nothing. And I was deliberate in trying to push a bill. Now, in my own case, I've been on Twitter since it came into Nigeria, and I've been around, so I can be reached easily. And like, I have a lot of friends around here, so I'm one dial away, one call away. But I think it's important because I take their heartbeat and translate it to policies, and take the policies and translate it into work functions.
I think that answers Damola's question on WhatsApp. What are your social media handles?
Oh, Ferdy Adimefe, Ferdy Adimefe is the same on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere. It's consistent.
All right, we have a few more calls. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? All right, Harry.
Hi, Harry. Happy New Year, man. It's pretty old, but yes, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Yes, very much. Yes, 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 yes. NHIS, yes, yes. Mm. 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 Yes, yes. Mm. Yes. Mm. 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 Mm.
All right.
Mm.
Thank you,
Thank you
Henry.
so much, Henry.
First of all, the NHIS is actually a failure. You have only about 3.2 Nigerians covered within that health insurance.
3.2 million.
Yeah, and that is grossly insufficient for a country like ours.
Mm.
Now, in ANN, we already have a health plan, and part of it is a social security scheme we're putting in place that will expand the coverage to as many Nigerians that can make a call. So part of our policy is to create an additional funding for the NHIS that can function like a social security for people less than 18 and above 60. So you can assess this. Now, what's the plan? The plan is for every call you make, we want to create a tax incentives to the telcos. So they create a funnel where every call, every time you load a recharge card, it's a little percentage of what you load is transferred into into an insurance account for you under our social security plan. So over time, this money will accrue, and you can assess it when you're 60, or when there is a crisis, you can assess it. So that's something we're also trying to do, creating, expanding that 3.2 million naira to incorporate
Why
more
the
people.
telcos in particular?
One, because it's one service that touches the lives of, I mean, every Nigerian, most Nigerians have a phone, and most Nigerians recharge their phone. So I'm saying that functionally, this is the lowest hanging fruit. In a sense, it can touch everyone, and we're saying give them the tax incentive, so that in place of that tax incentives, we create the funnel of the funding funnel, where a percentage, no matter how little it is, 5 or 3%, is taken into this account and lodged for you, and you can assess it whenever there's a health crisis or when you're above 60.
Right.
So that's some of the things we're already working on, consulting. And then for me, health is bigger than just the NHIS. All right, like I said, there's no general hospital in Eti-Osa. We want to get that within the first year, very easily get that done within the first year. We have enough to do that. And even with the PPP, private partnerships, and even putting some of the companies that have social responsibilities to sit with us on the table,
Yeah.
we don't necessarily need federal funding to do this.
Yes.
All right. And thirdly, for me, mental health is one area that we don't talk about, but our mental health is more important to most people in Lagos because we live under intense pressure and
It is
tension.
key
Very key.
in Lagos.
Yeah.
It is key. Does that form part of the policies that you'll be
Yes.
championing first?
Yes, and we're looking at the ratio of psychiatrists to citizens, and we want to see how we can expand that, create an opportunity for us to recruit and create more available for counseling channels. People are committing suicide every time because they don't have conduits for expression, and we want to create that. We care that much. We think that far.
Thank you, Ferdinand. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show here, Lagos Talks 91 special.
Pleasure to be here.
Ferdinand Adimefe is of the Alliance for New Nigeria. He's a candidate for Federal House of Representatives representing Eti-Osa Federal Constituency.
Yes.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Yeah. And Lagos, hope we get your votes.
Well, you shared your social media handle, and I'm sure you'll be sharing more information, and people can, engage you directly via your social media handle. Just for the last time, you can tell people your social media.
So my handle is Ferdy Adimefe. At Ferdy Adimefe is the same. Ferdy is Ferdy, Adimefe. Both on Twitter, on Instagram, and Facebook. The same.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much.
And that's it for Smooth Breakfast today. We'll be back again tomorrow, God willing,
Yeah.
6 a.m. bright
6
and early.
a.m. bright and early, and we'll take you up until 10 a.m.
And hit Ayo up on social media, every social media handle at Ayo Mairo Ese.
And Valentine is at Valentine Ohu on Instagram, and Valentine_Ohu on Twitter. You need to change that.
Good morning.
Good morning.